Yeho, friends, it's Timon, and we're gonna do a reaction video to JasonBlaha this morning. That's right. The gym lifting recruiting fitness gear slave, but oh, ski. Yeah, man. All right. So JasonBlaha says fast bulks and cuts waste time, not speed it up. Oh, he's finally realizing that. Is that it? Must be watching more of my videos. He's learning something.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys and gals a little bit about the idea that fast bulking and fast cutting are a complete waste of time. In other words, they will literally slow your progress, and a lot of people don't want to hear that.
Because they don't exist in the bodybuilding world. They're fake. They were fabricated by these fitness influencers, gurus and influencers. I don't even call them gurus or influencers, but they're all fake, man. They don't know anything about bodybuilding whatsoever. But I gotta tell you, it's hilarious how they don't know anything about bodybuilding. Look, I'll explain one more time. In this video, I'm going to use this video as an educational video. Bodybuilding is based on eccentric exercise. When you go to PubMed and you just write something in the search engine like about eccentric exercise, 1,000,000, and I'm talking 1,000,000,000,000 reports from PubMed and CBI come up. And all they talk about is eccentric exercise. They never talk about concentric. And if they do talk about it, it'll be inside the report of something that has to do with eccentric exercise. They'll just tell you that eccentric is superior to concentric in every way, in strength and size and mass and everything else, okay? So why is that? Because that's the principle of bodybuilding. It's based on eccentric exercise. When you go to gyms and you see people continuing in this behavior, you know, it's more of a comfort thing, really, is what happens. They get comfortable doing concentric lifts as opposed to eccentric, because eccentric is very uncomfortable. You see what I mean? You see that the problem with eccentric, it can take heavier loads, and really in reality, for some reason, people think it's supplemental work, bodybuilding. It's not. We do the big four and everything else. The whole point of isolating an area of a muscle is so that you can focus all the load on that muscle. See what I mean? You want to build it up as big and strong as you can get it, but they're not building it up big and strong. They're simply exercising. They're exercising those areas, and they can't figure out why they're not growing, because concentric exercise is not associated with bodybuilding, bro. Get it? That's why they developed powerlifting. They realized it's associated with the nervous system, pulling weights in the opposite direction against gravity, like the OHP, the deadlift, and stuff like that. And what do you call it? And okay, look, in bodybuilding, when we do the big four, we do the eccentric, but in powerlifting, they forego the eccentric. They simply stick to the concentric. That's why you see them lift a weight and drop it. See what I mean? Here's another thing. When it comes to shoulder presses, they pump and press. They pump and press the OHP. They never really use particularly strict form, power lifters. Or they just throw it up in the air or whatever. Okay, that's the difference. But in bodybuilding, we use strict form for everything. It's always eccentric, There is concentric, of course, because the initiating lift always starts with concentric, but there's always full eccentrics. In bodybuilding, it's impossible to escape it, because that is the main goal of building your body big and strong. We grow with the weights. And in bodybuilding, it's the opposite of powerlifting. They say you get a stronger, you get a bigger, but they never get bigger. In bodybuilding, you get a bigger, you get stronger. When you get bigger, you get stronger. See? And then you keep overloading eccentric. That's why they call it eccentric overload. We keep overloading the weight. That's why we call it progressive overload. Progressive overload is always reserved for eccentric, not concentric. No, because always the initiation is always is concentric, but it's always followed up with eccentric. You get it? That's where the load goes down. That's the overload when it comes down, crashing on you. Get it?
Because they have those outdated models regarding some of that. But the reality is, we don't have any reasonable evidence, and we actually have evidence to the contrary at this point, that gaining weight quickly actually causes any, and I mean any, extra muscle growth.
How could it gain? How could it gain any extra muscle growth without nuclei? You need nuclei to synthesize protein. That's what their job. Their job is to synthesize protein. Without them, you can't synthesize any more protein. Listen, muscle cells are not fat cells. They're highly controlled by follistatin, myostatin, and the satellite cell, the progenitor cell. Without the progenitor cell donating its nuclei, you cannot support further muscle growth. That's why they tell you an MND size limit. They say it has reached a ceiling limit during the hypertrophic process beyond where the satellite cell can donate any more extra nuclei to that domain to support further muscle growth. So when you first come in the gym, you initiate every lift with the very first time you come in. You're untrained, okay? Come in the gym, you lift weights, right? That's why they tell you in NCBI, they say a unique feature of eccentric exercise is that untrained subjects become stiff and sore the next day due to what? Muscle damage. Okay, so they tell you in nuclei overload precedes hypertrophy, not lost on detraining, NCBI. That map, it says untrained first training. Listen to the word untrained first training. Newly formed nuclei. Why? Because the initiating lift, when you initiated the lift concentrically, you had an eccentric descending, lengthening eccentric. So what happened was it was unaccustomed to doing it the very first time. But then it rapidly adapted by growing muscles. It grew some more sarcomeres, myofibrils, okay, to make it stronger. So now it's stronger, it's much more resilient from further assaults from what? From your lifts eccentrically. See what I mean? Now, your lifts are no longer vigorous. They're not vigorous. Now, to try to get that eccentric to kind of give you another adaptation, you would either have to do it very vigorously, your workout this time. So it's kind of an overworking, not overtraining, overworking on the day, whatever muscle group you're doing there, I don't know. So it'd have to be an overworking now with that concentric weight that you're using, because the weight going up is kind of heavy. But when it's going down too light now. That is the problem. See what I mean? And the muscle that you did build is resistant from getting more damage. It's protecting itself. That's why it built the muscle, to protect from any more damage. That's why the loads have to be much more heavier on the eccentric to try to damage the deeper, weaker muscle fibers. That's the whole thing. But in your mind, you're not thinking that. You're just thinking, I'm building muscles or whatever, whatever crazy convoluted thing somebody, I don't know, brainwashed you into doing concentric lifts are going to magically build muscles. They don't just magically build muscles. Muscles have to be damaged to build. They have to activate the growth factors by being damaged. No damage, no growth. And so on goes this cycle of people going to the gym, and then they're complaining they're not growing, and then fake natties, and then they complain they have a genetic limit, newbie gain limit, I'm a hard gainer, and all this kind of weird shit, bro. Believe me, I watch people in gyms and then I laugh. Then they come in with these books and they start writing and they can't figure out why they're not getting bigger. And I talk to them and they're like, well, I'm taking this creatine and everything. And look, honestly, it's not my job to put them on the right track. I just simply know that what they're doing is failure. I know what they're doing. They come in and they try something new, but they're doing the same exercise. See what I mean? They're still doing concentric exercises and they're never gaining. They can't figure out why they're not building muscle, because muscle only builds when it's damaged in the eccentric form. And the loads have to keep getting heavier and heavier because your muscles keep adapting by doing what? By adapting, by growing bigger and stronger to each load that you lift. Get it? So you have to keep overloading it to keep getting more adaptations and muscle growth in the eccentric. Yeah, it's not really that complicated. It's something you have to imagine in your head. You have to see it. You have to focus and see it in your head how this works exactly. The only thing you need to know is the principle is that eccentric damages muscle. How to get this damage to come back, it's up to you. See what I mean? You can overwork it and still do eccentric concentric, but then you're gonna have to overwork it. But you're not going to get a lot of damage there. You're going to get some. But now, when you overload, when you do eccentric overload training, right, busting through plateaus and shit and all that, well, that's totally different. The feeling is even different in your muscles. You have to be careful with that. You could get too much damage, which could be a bad thing. You're going to start to sleep more. You're going to be like in a coma at home. In a coma at home, bro. Get it? Yeah. But anyways, you get the idea. Anyways, let's continue.
The only reason people still believe it does is because some exercises we can lift more weight as we gain fat on them. That the actual accumulation of body fat changes our leverages.
No, it doesn't. The body, he's stupid. The body fat acts as a weighted vest. That's what it does. And so it causes your muscles to expand due to gravity. So the extra fat that you gain, it's like a layer of weight you're carrying on your body. So your muscles have to expand slightly bigger to accommodate to carry that weight. And so that's why you're stronger at your lifts, because you built muscle through weight bearing instead of damaging it in the eccentric form. How crazy is that? Did you need to go to a gym to do that? So ask yourself this question. Did you need to go to a gym to get fat, to weight bear it, to weight bear this fat on you so you could be stronger, having some muscles expand due to gravity? No, absolutely not. You know what I mean? You could have just stayed home and ate your Lucky Charms and get fat.
So that we can lift more weight
Yeah.
with, no extra tension on the actual muscle fibers. And that's the problem. People think, oh, well, if I'm
No, there is extra tension on the muscle fibers. They have expanded due to I don't know, the 30 pounds or 40 pounds of fat you gained. It's weighing down on you.
lifting more weight, I'm progressing faster.
Hell, when you walk down the street, your shoes are gonna wear out a lot faster. Notice how when you put on more weight, your shoes wear out faster. Why? Because you're grounded, bro. All that weight is pressing down on the soles of your shoes. So when you walk, they wear out quicker. It's weight.
Must be gaining muscle faster. And that's not true if the fat itself makes the lift easier. The bench press and
The fat doesn't make the lift easier. It's the muscle that has expanded due to the fat that you're carrying. Duh. Is Blaha really that stupid?
squat are absolutely perfect examples of this. Right? These are textbook perfect examples of that exact phenomenon occurring, right? To where you will gain strength purely from the fat gain. And a lot of it's because of this.
No, you won't gain the strength from the fat gain. You'll gain it from the muscle that will expand due to you bearing all this fat on your body.
Wish they create the changes in the range of motion and all of that. So because of that, people then assume, well, I must be gaining more muscle if the bar weight is going up more. But it's not true in that case because people are not understanding that increased.
Oh, you didn't gain the muscle from because the bar weight went up. You gained muscle from lifting. You gained it because the weight bearing, the fat weight bearing on your body.
Tension is not always going to happen just because we increase weight on the bar. Because what we're looking at is tension on individual muscle fibers. So when we talk about progressive overload, that's what we're talking about. So at least at the tendon level.
No, it's not. Progressive overload means the load is going down with gravity on your body. That's the whole point. That's the idea. Now, I can't say, look, man. Concentric, if you're holding on to a weight, whether you're pressing the weight concentrically, it doesn't matter. It's always weight bearing in the opposite direction. It's going with gravity. See what I mean? Listen, let's say you're standing up, you're holding a barbell in your hand, but you're pressing it in the opposite direction, okay, against gravity. There's still an overload because the gravity is weighing you down. Gravity is weighing you down. You understand me? You're holding the weight. Doesn't matter in which direction you hold it, whether you hold it above your head or below your head, you're still it's still weighing down on you. Oh man, come on.
To another extent at the individual fiber level. So example meaning at the tendon level, meaning more weight on the bar, but
I mean, I've seen power lifters do this. They hold on to the bar like Blaha right now. They put a heavy weight on there and then they pull it off and then they just hold it for as long as they can. Why is that? Because gravity, it's pushing down. And so it's bearing weight on their bones and their muscle. And so they try to see how long they can hold it there because they think that that will tweak the nervous system, right? Recruiting these motor units, giving them more motor units so then later they can press it. Or some crazy idea they have. I don't know.
Same range of motion. The individual fiber means no change in leverages, but it could mean, for example, either more weight or more reps. So in other words, we're probably creating some additional tension. If you could take a weight you could move for 10 reps and you get it for 11 or 12 or 13, yeah, there's absolutely some additional tension happening, at least at the level of some of the individual muscle fibers. And that's what we're trying to do. When you are trying to get a muscle bigger.
Oh, really? That's what we're trying to do? So when you're trying to get a muscle bigger, how do you get it bigger?
We need to understand.
Yeah.
We are looking to put tension on the actual muscle fibers that you want to grow.
So you're actually putting tension on the muscle fibers that you want to grow. Okay. So now that you put the tension on the muscle fibers, how do they grow? Okay, there's tension on there. How do they grow? Do they grow from the tension? Does the tension grow them? How does the tension grow them?
Okay, so they need to be subjected to more workload at the level of the muscle.
How does tension grow a muscle? I know that muscle damage grows muscles, but how does tension grow a muscle? How does it grow a muscle?
Okay, and that doesn't always happen just because you throw some more weight on the bar. Because of leverages, cheating, things like that. Changing ranges of motion, and even the fact that
if your eccentric part of your exercise is adapted, then there's no damage, there's no growth. I don't care how much tension you put on there. There's nothing going on there. Get it, dude?
Range of motion. So we need to look at that. And then when you think about it from the perspective of the studies that have looked at it, they found that very small surpluses, as small as 3%, cause just as much muscle growth as a 10% surplus.
How do they do that? How do they cause that muscle growth? Where does it come from? What type of muscle growth is it? Is it sarcoplasmic or myofibrillar, Blaha?
Okay, and a 10%, a lot of people, it's like, oh, that's a baseline, that's a slow bulk, but it's really not. It's really not. That's a fast bulk. That's way faster than you can gain muscle. So a 10% surplus.
That's way faster than you can gain muscle? A fast bulk? Bulking doesn't... Oh, man. Oh, brother. Bulks don't damage muscles to grow them. But I told you, the weight bearing will expand the muscles. It'll cause it to expand due to gravity. Yeah.
Assuming, around 3,500 extra calories eaten is an extra pound of body weight, right, of some type of tissue, whether it's fat, muscle, whatever. Well, let's say your maintenance is 3,000. Let's take it a lot. You say you're a small dude, because I can't imagine for me having a 3,000 maintenance. That's crazy low. So 300 calories. So an extra 300 calories every day? What is that per month?
Calories don't build muscles. Fat doesn't build muscles either. What builds muscles is damage. Damage is the trigger to build muscles. Yeah, it activates the growth factors to build muscle.
9,000 calories. That's 3 pounds a month almost. At least 2.5. That's going to be mostly fat. Very few people beyond the rank novice is gaining.
We're Roofer.
If you're an advanced lifter, you're not even gaining half a pound a month. That's not happening without.
I'm an advanced lifter. I can gain as much as 2 pounds a week. Now that's when I add some sarcoplasmic to it with myofibrillar growth. And that's really pushing it 2 pounds a week. That's crazy. Oh, man.
Drugs. So if you're gaining 2.5 pounds, almost 3 pounds every month from a 10% surplus, that is mostly fat.
No, absolutely not. I never gained any fat doing that in the past. In the past, when I did it, I never gained any fat. And your body's more responsive when when it's younger, because it's still kind of in a growth state, growing something, whatever you want to call it. You're not really growing. You're old person now. You're not really growing.
Yet that didn't cause more growth than, say, what they found was a 3%. So in other words, that might only be gaining half a pound a month. That was enough to cause maximum muscle growth when it was measured in lifters. Okay? So then you have the point of all you're doing is gaining fat. So let's say you did bulk at that 10%. You see where we're about to go?
Yeah, I see where you're going, Blaha. Yeah, what about it?
Think the math through. So you gained 2 pounds of fat every month for 6 months.
Why is he talking about gaining 2 pounds of fat every month or whatever? Is this bodybuilding? Gaining fat? Getting fat? What the hell is he talking about? This has nothing to do with lifting, getting fat.
Straight. Okay? You gain 2 pounds of fat. That's
Look, man, us bodybuilders, we're not trying to get fat, dude. We're trying to build muscle.
12 pounds of fat in your bulk. Of extra fat that you gained that produced no extra muscle growth. So had you just bulked slower, where would you have been? Well, you wouldn't have gained the 12 pounds of fat. You would have gained the same amount of muscle. So what happens when you cut that fat? People are like, well, I'll cut, quick. Well, you can't cut quick. You cut quick, you'll lose a ton of muscle.
Okay.
Realistically, a decently lean, fit person, you're not exceeding a pound of fat loss per week. You're not doing it. Anything beyond that's water or, at that point, muscle tissue probably. So you're looking at spending, if you want to keep most of your muscle, you're going to spend 12 weeks. That's 3 to 4 months. Well, it's actually, 3 months to diet off the extra fat from your faster bulk. So once you've dieted it off, assuming you didn't lose any muscle, that fast bulk caused you...
That made no sense. Assuming you didn't lose any muscle. You're getting fat, assuming you didn't lose any muscle. Losing muscle from what?
To lose 3 months of your muscle gains. So it took you to reach the same body...
So you mean when you got fat and you gain some, your muscles expanded due to weight bearing of the fat, and then you mean when you lose the fat, that you might lose the muscle? Yeah, it'll shrink. Yeah.
Composition 9 months to do what you could have done in 6. You see where we're going? You could have been at the same...
In 9 months, what you could have done in 6, or whatever.
Same body fat had you just bulked really, really super slow.
Like, what does this have to do with building bodies, getting fat, getting skinny, getting fat? This is crazy, man.
Like half a pound a month.
Wow.
Which people say that's too low. How could you make progress? Well, you could make progress.
You could?
Because if you're that low, you're gaining muscle. Even if you're at maintenance, if you're recomping, and your training is really good and your protein is high, you'll gain a fair amount of muscle even if you gain 0 weight.
Really?
But if you look at the math, you could have been at the same endpoint in 6 months instead of 9 months had you just bulked a hair slower.
The math.
That's it.
See? Could have bulked.
You could have been the same muscle and same body fat.
See, you could have gotten fat and built some muscle because you can't build it with weights, lifting weights in the gym. It's not working. So you have to get fat. You have to get fat, creatine, modulators, triglycerides, TRT, steroids, this and that, whatever. I know that's the problem. We got low testosterone. That's why we're not building muscles. Building muscles have nothing to do with low testosterone. That's absolutely a fallacy. That's fake. Because when muscles get damaged, guess what? They activate the growth factors. That must mean that testosterone must, and I mean must go up. It has to. It's forced to go up because it has to start synthesizing protein because now the building phase starts, the repairing and the remodeling of that muscle. So every growth factor is activated in your muscle. That includes testosterone. So even when people say, I have low testosterone, that's not why I'm not building muscle. No, you're not building muscle, you dumbasses, because you're still doing concentric lifting, and that's not associated with fucking muscle growth. You understand me? You need nuclei. You need to activate them through damage so you can get more nuclei to support further muscle growth. Ding butts.
In 3 months instead of 9. Well, that could be extrapolated out to you're wasting 50% of your time.
Yeah, okay.
You're wasting 50% of your time doing extra cutting every single year if you bulk too quickly. And that's considered by many people a conservative bulk, a 10% surplus.
All of you are wasting your time, and so is this knucklehead. He's wasting his time, bro. He's wasting his time.
Same thing when we cut. When you cut fast, what happens? You just lose muscle.
Oh man, what happens when you cut? You just lose muscle because you're shrinking. You're taking off the weighted vest you were carrying called fat.
If you just cut slow, data shows you can gain a little muscle instead of losing it. So then you're...
Oh man, this is crazy. You gain a little bit of muscle carrying the weight bearing of the fat. So just cut slow so maybe it won't shrink so fast. You'll be able to keep it a little bit longer. This is dumb.
Always staying ahead. You're at least always making progress.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
So that's why I tell people really slow bulks or really slow cuts, and I'm talking a pound a month at most.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, that's going to keep it, okay.
Most for your weight gain. At the most. Cutting, I say for a lot of people, man, half a pound a week is perfectly reasonable.
Oh, man.
Because at half a pound...
Right, he's really out.
On a fat loss a week, you can still gain a little bit of muscle because you're not in much of a deficit. You can recomposition still at that point. You do it this way, you're making gains all...
You know, here's the funny part. You literally, if you damage muscle fibers and you do this so-called bulking, you can build muscles bulking, providing they're damaged. See what I mean? It will allocate those resources, whatever you're eating there, it'll allocate it to do what? To build those muscles. But you want to build fat. You want to get fat. What the fuck, bro?
Time, you never stop making slow gains.
Okay, whatever.
And you never get fat. This is the way to go. It makes way more sense.
Yeah, but then you get really skinny. You go back to the way you were, skinny, a skinny person like Blaha. Look at Blaha. He's skinny. He's small. He's skinny, and he's just pumped on some glycogen because he's taking TRT.
And what people try to do is because everyone's impatient. They bulk too fast. They get too fat. Then they have to waste time cutting. They cut too fast, lose muscle, and they fall behind. Completely waste time.
That's not.
All right, guys.
That's not bodybuilding. That's not the principles of bodybuilding. Getting fat. Okay.
Really, all I have to say on that today.
Shut up, man. I'm glad that's all you have to say. See you in the next one. Ciao, friends.